Hi, I wanted to take a minute and explain the elements of a complete sentence. Now, this is going to be important video for the first few warm-ups that you're going to find in that digital notebook, okay? So pay attention to the elements of a complete sentence. Pretty basic. We're starting off easy. So a sentence is also called an independent clause. So you're going to hear me say those two words like interchangeably. So sentence, independent clause, it's the same thing. Every sentence has two things, right? It has to have these two things. It has to have a subject and a verb, okay? A subject is like the person or thing doing something or being something. It's the person in charge, usually in the first part of the sentence, like 90% of the time, the subject comes in the beginning of a sentence. The verb often shows action, right? Doing something like playing, running, jumping, jumped, purchased, those types of things. But it could also be a state of being, like I am a teacher. Am is the verb. You are a student. Are is the verb. Those are called linking verbs, and we'll take a look at those a little bit later. So here we have Joe purchased a car. Who is doing the action? And that's Joe. He's the subject. Now, what's the verb? What did Joe do? What's the action? Oh, he purchased, right? That's pretty simple. The car was red. So, what is the subject here? What's the subject is car. And here we have an example of a linking verb. So the car, what was the state of the car? Oh, it was red. Red is the adjective, okay? So sometimes it gets a little tricky where you have a sentence like this. Being on time for work is important. So the being on time for work, that whole thing is what you call a gerund subject. That whole thing is the subject. A gerund. We'll talk about that word gerund a little bit later. But gerund is like an ing word that acts like a noun, okay? And in this case, you have another linking verb, is, right? So being on time for work is important. So they have to have a subject and a verb. Again, linking verbs are words like this. I know you've seen these. Is, am, are, was, were, being. Those are all example of verbs. They're just called linking verbs. Those are maybe a little trickier to find. Now, if for some reason you don't have a subject and a verb, it's bad. It's called a fragment, right? So you want to avoid fragments. So something is missing. Either the subject is missing or the verb. Now, sometimes authors do write fragments in their stories, but for our purposes, let's just steer clear of fragments. Okay, they can get away with it, you can't. Okay, so the quarterback on the 10-yard line. Well, what about the quarterback? The quarterback's my subject, but what's he doing? Is he waiting for the whistle? I don't know, right? So the verb is missing in that case. Shifted into school mode. Okay, I think I see a verb there, shifted, but who shifted? In this case, we're missing the subject. So these are two examples of fragments. So I hope you understand the basic elements of a complete sentence. Subject, verb. Okay, if they don't have it, it's called a fragment. Thanks. Bye.